And eventually it becomes your responsibility to open doors for others. Welcome, everyone. My name is Jose Carlos Gonzalez Mendez Navarrete. And for all of that, they call me JC. I would like to thank David Olivencia de la Cepeda and everyone here at Angeles Investors for their incredible work supporting Hispanic entrepreneurs. Now, relax. I'm not here to pitch anything. I won't show you any pro forma P&Ls, no valuation exercise whatsoever, so you can rest at ease. I'm here just to tell you about a story of opportunity, resilience, ups and downs, but ultimately something that I consider a story of success. Today, I want to share with you my journey and what I have learned about leadership, entrepreneurship, and investing with purpose. I was born in Mexico City, the second of seven of what I thought it was a typical middle-class family in Mexico. My father passed away when I was 2.5. He was 35. My mom was 30. She had 3 children and 1 on the way. She had a high school education. Years later, my mom married again, to whom I considered my father for my entire life. A man that taught me integrity, work ethic, and quite frankly, how to be a gentleman. At the very early age of 13, I fell in love for the first and only time. To a lady that I went steady for 10 years, 11 months, 1 day, and have been married for 42 years. My lovely Deborah. Without a doubt, the best decision I've ever made in my life. Lessons I learned from my mom: perseverance, can-do attitude, and definitely positivism. You could not see her complain ever, even with the low blows that life gave her. As a child, I wanted to be Jacques Cousteau. Most of you don't know who that is. He was a French explorer, oceanographer, a scientist. And the ocean was my passion, I thought. When looking for colleges, I found that Tecnológico de Monterrey had something in marine sciences. And I said, that's it. That's what I'm going. Little did I know that it was biochemical engineering in marine sciences. Too late for me to back out. I went there. Unfortunately, in the middle of the studies, I found out that I get deadly seasick. Hence the importance of having a plan B. With the help of mentors that cared about my success. After a short conversation I had with my dad, picture this. He's visiting me in college and says, "Hey, son, what do you want to be when you graduate?" I said, "Dad, I want to be Jacques Cousteau. You know that." "And how many Jacques Cousteaus are there in the world?" I said, "1." He just lowered his eyeglasses and said, "Do you know how stupid that sounds?" I remember the adrenaline coming down on my spine. He's right. What am I thinking? That, coupled with the fact that I get deadly seasick, and with the help of some of my advisors, I eventually graduated with a major in biochemical engineering with 2 minors. Marine sciences, my passion, and food technology, my ticket to the big leagues. It was 1984 when McDonald's entered Mexico. Before they opened their first restaurant, they needed someone that had a little bit of background because they wanted a country purchasing manager. They wanted somebody that had a food tech background, which I did, and spoke a little bit of English, which I did not. But my boss was Cuban, so we faked it for the first 6 months. My mom was a translator for KPMG at the time. I used to write my travel reports in Spanish. Deborah used to translate them, and Mom used to proofread them. And so you won. After we opened the first few restaurants in Mexico City, they offered me the opportunity to move to the US and became the international QA manager for Latin America, eventually Europe, and then Asia Pacific. After I was told that I was too young to be promoted, not once, but twice, I decided to take a lateral move and go to Southern California. I went as the purchase and development manager of LA, San Diego, and Hawaii. Not a bad region to be in. About 1,000 restaurants. I was in charge of about $1 million worth of purchases a day, and I thought I had made it. I was 29. Little did I know that I was just beginning my career. Interesting that I was told that I could not get promoted because I did not have any gray hairs, if they could see me now. I was a regional purchase manager in LA, and then I was exposed to leadership while I was there. And I wanted to be an officer. Did not know what that meant. But I liked the cars they drove, and I liked the clothes they were wearing. So I set in my mind I want to be an officer. Unfortunately, at the time there were 40 officers in operations and only one officer in supply chain. So the writing was on the wall. You need to get out of supply chain, and you need to get the stars and stripes that come from working in the field. So at the time, McDonald's was looking to recruit Hispanics to get them through what they used to call an operations fast track program and get them to a directorship within 3 to 5 years. So after they asked me, I knew that it would be better for them to ask than for me to ask. So I thought that I would have the hand by the handle that way. I went down 8 positions on the org chart. With the short sleeve, the tie, and went into the restaurants. Was a manager trainee, second assistant, first assistant manager, eventually supervisor, and eventually managed company-owned restaurants. 3.5 years later, I became the multi-department head, managing about 100 McDonald's restaurants, about $200 million worth of business. Now, it sounds easy. 4 years in operations fits in one paragraph, but it was over 1,500 days where I was humbled to the ground. Now, I found myself making financial decisions without the proper training. So I went to USC to get an executive MBA at the same time that I became a director of operations in LA. About halfway through it, they asked me if I would consider going back to Mexico as the second in command. This is 12 years later that I left. They had recently promoted a Canadian that spoke no Spanish to be the president of Mexico. I did not know how to tell them I don't want to be a translator for anyone. So I used my schooling days saying, I have to finish my MBA. Call me when I'm done. They did. And they promised that if I went down as the second in command, I would become eventually the president within 18 months. We moved in February of 1998, and in May, I was named president of McDonald's Mexico, the first president of the Mexican entity being Mexican. I happened to hit Mexico at the right time. Politically, it was changing from the PRI to the PAN. Mexico grew at 7.5% GDP. There was nothing we could do wrong. We tripled sales, we quadrupled operating income. So JC's name started sounding around the corporate headquarters. After doing that in Mexico for a few years, I became the international relationship partner and finally an officer of the company, managing 7 countries in Latin America. I had Colombia, Bolivia, Peru, Venezuela, Uruguay, Paraguay, and Chile. Then I was tired of traveling. My children were going to high school. I was missing a lot of their growth, and I was quite tired of traveling. So I moved to Chicago and became the regional VP in Chicago. My mom used to say, be careful, if you want to be on stage, you better bring your dancing shoes. And this is where McDonald's headquarters is. So I used to manage I thought I used to manage the region Monday through Friday, but senior management managed my region over the weekend. Not easy, especially after being in Mexico, where I did everything and made all decisions. Then they asked me to go back to supply chain. I did not want to go back to supply chain because I like the pressure of the P&L. But they were so insistent that I became the chief purchasing officer of the U.S., eventually U.S. and Canada, now managing $11 billion worth of goods and services for about 15,000 restaurants. Probably the most rewarding of the positions that I had, but the most challenging. Eventually became president of Latin America when we decided to sell our business to Arcos Dorados. My job was to make sure that the transition was seamless. And then when Don Thompson became CEO, he wanted to bring the ambition of good food being served by good people, by being a good neighbor, to reality. And he wanted me to create the first ever office. Are you ready for this? It was a chief global sustainability, corporate social responsibility, diversity and inclusion, community engagement, and philanthropy for McDonald's. The first time ever that my title was longer than my name. Part of that role was for me to run Ronald McDonald House Charities Global. Without a doubt, the most rewarding of the positions I ever had with McDonald's. Who doesn't like to help children? Now, the most important thing about a journey is the learnings we get. Here are some of the lessons I learned through my trajectory. Number one, integrity. Integrity is the foundation. You see, people forgive mistakes, but they rarely forgive lack of integrity. This is especially true in investing. Investors invest in people before they invest in businesses. Lesson number two, growth lives outside comfort zones. Every important opportunity began with discomfort. This is especially important during any entrepreneurial experience. Founders understand uncertainty, rejection, risk, and resilience deeply. I learned early on that adversity builds strength. Also, lessons from sustainability leadership. The future belongs to those companies that build trust, care for employees, think long term, and operate ethically and contribute to communities. Long-term success is definitely built on trust. Success without service eventually feels empty. I retired from McDonald's as the still highest ranking Mexican ever in the company. I was one of the top 18, and quite frankly, I was then proud. And people always talk to me about, you have such a unique story. You have to tell your story. I retired at the age of 55, 11 years ago. So I decided to write my memoirs, and I called it My Way to the American Dream. I wrote it for my children and grandchildren. It's not a business book, although it has a lot of nuggets, pun intended. It is definitely a story defined by resilience, ambition, and an unwavering belief in the power of opportunity. I brought a few copies for you. I think I brought 30 in English and 30 in Spanish, the original language that I wrote it in. If you want to take it, feel free. If not, I'll take it. Now, let me switch now to the importance of us as Latinos to invest in our people. We're not only funding companies, we're funding dreams, families, innovation, confidence, and generational wealth. Talent is universal, but opportunity, unfortunately, is not. This is the role that Angeles investors plays today. Now, the shared DNA between entrepreneurs and immigrants is powerful. Both live certainty behind in search of possibility. What investors should really look to or for is goes beyond a pitch deck. The smartest person in the room does not always win. The winner is the one that keeps learning, builds trust, adapts faster, and refuses to quit. I would like you to reflect. Who opened the door for you? Who believed in you early? Who gave you a chance? And then I challenge you to become that person for someone else. Legacy is not what we accumulate, but it is what we create. Let me repeat that. Legacy is not what we accumulate, it is what we create in others. Now, we must speak with pride about the Hispanic moment in America. Hispanics are building businesses, driving growth, shaping culture, and leading innovation. We're no longer asking for a seat at the table, we're helping build that table. Remember, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. Now, we must speak with pride about Hispanic moment in America. My final thoughts: be proud of your story. Never, ever underestimate resilience. Build anything always with integrity. Invest in our people. If not us, who? If not now, when? Create opportunities for others. Open doors. Leave a legacy. See, the American dream survives when each generation chooses not only to succeed, but to help others succeed as well. Thanks for listening. I think we have a couple of minutes for questions if anybody has any questions. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So, my mom used to say, no hay mal que dure 100 años ni cuerpo que lo aguante. This shall pass. This is not going to be forever. America is much greater than that, and we will go back to a much more centered government soon. We can't let anyone tell us that we are not belonging. You heard that yesterday from Jeff and from Adela. No, we must demand that we belong. We're 63 million Latinos in this country. There's more Latinos in this country than Canadians in Canada or Australians in Australia. Our GDP is $4.3 trillion, the fifth largest economy in the world. We're not asking for what we don't deserve. We're demanding the seat that we have earned. So that's what I mean. Don't feel out of the room. You need to get into that room. You need to feel that you belong. That imposter syndrome, I never felt, just like Jeff said. I was there because I was supposed to be there. Now I had to do the things that I needed to do to get to that seat. Get the MBA, get into operations, things that I needed to do, but because I had a long-term plan, it made some sense, some of the moves that I made. So don't think that you don't belong. It is your responsibility to make sure they know that you belong. And don't worry, this shall pass. This can't be here forever. We're better than that. Yes. Hmm? Yeah, easy. Get the facts. And there's a lot of institutions that can help you with that. There's a Latino Donor Collaborative managed by Ana Valdez that has a tremendous amount of very rich information about the Latino influence in the GDP growth of this country. There's also the World Human Foundation led by Claudia Romo Edelman that has a lot of great data. So get informed. Get the information about 80% of the mortgages in the next 10 years are going to be from Latinos. Bankers, if you don't have a Latino institutionalized business case, you're going to miss. 3 out of every 5 businesses are created by Latinas. If you don't understand that, somebody else is going to be funding them. So, a long answer to your question: get the facts and make sure that you regurgitate them well. But you have to get updates because they change very dramatic. We're the youngest generation. I mean, they're about 18 years younger than the average, and they're populating much faster than others.
Thank you so much, JC, for sharing your story. What you said was very inspirational. That's actually just open to my question. As you just shared, Latina entrepreneurship is exponential currently. And as a Latina tech founder, what advice would you give to those of us that are in the trend? For the people in the back. Thank you, Cassandra. So I was saying, thank you so much for sharing your inspiring story and it was a great opening question in response to what you just shared. Latina entrepreneurship is growing exponentially now. And as a Latina tech founder, what advice would you give to those of us that are in the trenches at this time?
Well, this is a perfect example of what you should do. Get together with the people that are willing to invest in your ideas. What Adela and David have put together here with the help of others, obviously, is tremendous.
Yeah.
But also network with Latinas that are business owners. Do you know Margarita Womack from Maspanadas? Talk to her. She's an extremely highly educated. She's a PhD. I mean, so not only personally but professionally very well educated.
Yeah.
She had a very different path. Talked to Chingona Ventures.
Yeah.
Yamada is a phenomenal lady.
Absolutely.
If you have access to Canela's CEO and founder, one of our very first investments, Rafferty. She's phenomenal. So get educated by talking to others.
Right.
There's power in numbers, and
it is very lonely.
I know it is.
Yeah.
And we need to forget that paradigm of Latinos don't help Latinos. That tale of the fisherman in Ensenada with 2 buckets, one with a lid and the other one without a lid, we must remember, but we must avoid. One has a lid, the other one doesn't. And the gentleman asked him, so why do you have 2 different ones? Well, the one with the lid are for the ones that I catch on the American side. As soon as I have 5 or 6, they start climbing and pushing each other and they come out. And that one without a lid, that's for the Mexican side. As soon as one is trying to climb out, they drag him down. It's a very foul thought, but it's very true. And we need to make sure that we don't speak badly about our people,
right?
And that we help each other. Because if we don't help each other, we're not going to come out of this.
Absolutely. My name is Lina Correa Velez. I'm the CEO of Pagame AI, and I welcome to connect with any mission-aligned individuals. Thank you so much, JC.
You're welcome. I believe we're on time.